the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, I think. But we'll see. They are going triple among. They do go big on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, though, with Josh actually going the build difference. So we're going to have a big Rasmus, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, very interesting that they decided to opt for Rasmus game double sides. A very good character to pick it up, especially when he's got a Mako as a teammate that can actually make up for the lost speed that he would have lost without picking the one else. But as you see, Josh is already making great value out of the side, just taking so many strike boards with his slick kicks and then, I don't know, 30% size. I don't know the numbers on it anymore. Size keeps getting nerfed. Same size, but both sides trading in the corner and a lot of scrambling going on. It's a lot.
It's fine, but yeah, it's going back and forth quite a bit. But I mean, we're sitting on an among Titans start, right? It's always going to be very fast. It's always going to be fast paced, and yeah, that exercise on Josh is going to help him quite a bit, especially if you are on Erasmus like that. But I think Josh right now needs to be careful not be taken off the map because that banish did come out. 6 seconds longer on that banish, by the way. Yikes, but it's still going to hold a lot of damage. And I'm also going to be curious to see how well Assertive's going to be able to play out this era in net, because that era change is going to be rather big as well, right? Her cast comes out so much more faster to a point where, personally, I'm saying it feels more like going up against a Drakkar shotgun than anything else, but it's gonna be interesting to see how well they're meshed together and how well this era is gonna hold defensively as well. Huge KO
coming out. I will say the new air changes, that beam, that is unreactable. And when you're playing a character that needs his size so much like Rasmus, not being able to dodge the air beam, it makes offense really difficult for the Rasmus. Like whenever he's beamed, he just can't really do anything to interact with the core because all of his abilities except hooks need a size, and when he's permanently beamed on such a short cooldown, it's almost possible to dodge. There's going to be a lot of stress on Zay forever trying to kind of get the core forward or stall out time for when he's going out. And so corner offense trying to get that time, but Zoe Witch able to hit the core back in, and a huge NATO actually securing the bottom barrier. Eric goalie kind of popping off right now.
Yeah, sort of making it work really well here. Got the second barrier, did lose her second barrier as well there to get 2 open goals. Tragic has it flipped the net as well if he doesn't use it. Uses the Mako ult. And Zoe actually taken off the map. The Double living not much longer. But CYBR will have the opportunity to just kind of stall it out. They have a flip on Assertive as well if they do need to use it. Can hold on to it for now, and Zoe's going to be back on the field again.
Yeah. With seeing Zoe die there makes you all think about how damage is actually. It may not look like it with the 2 team Falco. They very oriented on both sides, but damage is going to matter a lot, namely on the brawlers. Estelle Rasmus can do a very good job at putting damage on people who can't really run around as much because he's fat hamster, you know? It's really easy to hit him. But also, on the same side, it is extremely hard for Josh to dodge all the abilities. Like I already said, Air Beam is almost undodgeable. Dubu Roll is a giant circle that if he's on top of you, doesn't miss. And then on top of that, he has to pay attention to the rune bans. If he everyday finishes like he has just now, which would be huge damage coming out unless Safe Forever can once again get in and help his teammates just kind of destroying the pillars before they can form.
Yeah, and it's gonna have so much more value here as well on the sort of the awakenings further down in terms of survivability, right? Stagger Striker, that's gonna have high prior for both of the brawlers here.
Oh, got bad news about what happened to Stagger Striker. Wait, pretty sure I got the remove.
Oh wait, it did? Maybe it did. Maybe I'm not up to date with my patches.
Maybe I'm not up to date on my patches.
Yeah, I'm not up to date with my patches. Unlucky.
It's not like there's no survivability left. There's now Reptile Rotate has to come in instead, which can actually give more healing on instead of created Stagger Striker. If whoever gets it can keep their hands on the core. But Expo backing it down with their rune primary. I mean, it was a great prior placement from her. Just so much range that your rune cover. It's really scary against it because you don't know where that pillar is going to appear and just kind of snipe your clear at the stage against Tragic.
Yeah, I mean the pillars are going to be difficult to work with and work against because it's going to be a prediction game, right? You're going to have to try to guess, maybe figure out where Expo Chan wants to place them down and then counteract it, but that just turns into a big mind game at the end. And Not a mind game you want to find yourself in, but the position you do want to find yourself in is winning the first set here, actually, in favor of CYBR. We'll see what Awakenings are going to be able to pick up here. Speed is obviously going to be great, because you just want to continue to snowball it. We have a team player, we have a hotshot here. Nerfed hotshot, but it still holds a lot of value, I say.
Still a lot of cooldowns on the hotshot. 2.5 seconds when taking the core is not something to scoff at. And as we see, Scout picking up the core speed might be extremely good for getting past Era. A character doesn't really have any super fast defensive abilities. But I'd like to say the team player pickup from Era and the catch slash pickup from Rune going to be extremely, extremely hard to deal with for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. Team player is just an awakening that a lot of people seem to forget about in draft, but the way it can just accelerate the play so fast that makes it super hard for a non-paced character like itself to react to in the midfield. Be able to get the core up the field so quickly.
Yeah, and especially on a character like Era, right, that doesn't necessarily have a lot of like great anti-forcing tools. Having the ability to just send the core flying almost immediately off of a single strike is going to make her defense a lot more easy to as well. So we'll see how well it's going to pan out. I do feel like, though, this draft very much not in favor of the side of Heavy Metal Gundam the way it ended up playing out.
Yeah, for sure, but nothing to scoff at on their side. Hotshot is still, like I said, a very big pickup, and Rasmus picking up explosive entrance he's got a lot of impact damage right now with the build difference. Solid 20%. It's probably counteracting the nerfs he got recently, so the damage way out from Heavy Metal Gundam is quite a lot now. And the speed is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, most definitely, but the damage right now actually is going to land on Josh as he's just being taken damage over and over again. Gets taken out by Expochan there as well with a great pillar. So now Tragic and Zay will have to try to hold on to this. Both of them have a flip available if they do need to use it. Tragic does use it here. So he's trying to predict the strike out, but didn't time it quite right. But the pendulum swing from Josh going a little bit out there. They're sending it directly up to Zoe again, and Cyber Swipe now able to get this goal and get the lead in the second set.
Yeah, a bit of a miscommunication on the defense from Heavy Metal Gundam, but great reactions from Expo to catch the core with that rune frame, able to just react from forever. Like, once again there, we saw it go all the way back to catch the core going past us to the corner. This rune character is just so good at covering space. Like, it's hard to imagine his range around him, but him just walking around with primary up, if he can get any cooldowns and setting up that cast last pillar, puts so much pressure on Heavy Metal Gundam, with Tragic being unable to get the outkill, which is the killer place. And that means they're forced to hit it into the Dubu. And that Dubu, the large and fast Dubu, built to bulk up. That's a lot of power, a lot of strikes. And it's extremely scary to clear into, especially when you have so much, surprising about stuffing power with his lock, and using that speed and size to get such great dribbles, kind of going all the way from one side of the field to the other, and managing to dribble the core all the way to the other side of the net, with Tragic unable to reach it with the primary.
And bulk up also being a great awakening for Zoe here, because it gives you HP, right? It's going to help you with that survivability aspect that is a concern in this game, right? You're an Atlab, it's a heavy damage game, and the Rasmus that they sell together will do a lot of damage, just passively as well while trying to contest the core. So it's going to help Zoe stay on the map, but we'll see if it's going to help her as well, or help her enough, because there's going to be damage pumped into her. She's going to be down at low HP again. And it's not going to stop anytime soon with how these abilities are coming out. Almost gets KO there with the Double Fortress, but doesn't quite find it. Power play now in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, great kill coming out from Tragic, spending the flip to get the KO on Expo, but a beautiful pass from Zay Forever. Down to the bottom side where Josh is able to slot the core in beautifully to the bottom side. A lot of resources spent for that point, but if they can turn around this set after being down 2-0, it's not going to be great for the draft. It's going to be great for the mental. Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, mental being such a big factor as well, right? And the momentum, the way you play it out, and CyberSwipe definitely really wanting to completely shut that down before it goes anywhere too close to gaining too much momentum for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. But they do get both of the barriers back. Assertive on the arrow with Flip, probably trying to walk up here, try to use it aggressively as well, but she can't quite find the angle to run up. As Expochan and Zoe now on the attack, trying to set up. Tofu Fortress coming out, but a great defense from Tragic will hold on to it, and an even better pendulum swing from Josh will find a KO. Josh in front of the goal now with a flip. Probably wants to use it. No, gets KO'd by Assertive, but this piercing shot from Zay coming out for getting a return KO, and more importantly, the goal.
Yeah, a lot of kills coming at that point. One people with the 20% impact on Josh, but even more importantly, the kill on Zay with that primary there actually took away Assertive's flip. It's going to be huge for everyone else. They were very behind on energy before this point, but now they're able to kind of just turn the tides. And now they're the ones with the energy lead. Even without 2 barriers, if they can get some flips up, they're able to turn this point around.
We're gonna need to find him soon though, because the attack from Zoe and Expo-chan is not slowing down. Expo-chan is a bit low, but a great swap comes out actually. Finds a strike past Zay there. And CYBR now find themselves in a 2-0 lead in terms of sets. Really good for momentum and for mental as well. So they want to try to carry that through this draft and into this next set as well, as we do have our Awakenings available here. More size on the board as well. Might have the Colossus gotten a little bit buffed recently, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the difference maker. Reptile Remedy, great pairing though with Poco.
Yeah, Zoe opting for the double stagger combo. I'm going to be honest, Stevie's unkillable now. I mean, she's currently gonna have like 2,600 stagger and healing 4% of that every time they strike the core. I mean, it's gonna be insane. In addition, Fight or Flight picked up by Expo is going to be huge for the rune. Just more speed on that character means that his effective range just gets even bigger. Like, it's even harder to track where his primary is gonna appear. I will say though, heavy impact and light on Josh and Zay, a lot of damage coming out. Again, if they can somehow, they have to change their targets with Zoe with the Reptile Remedy to bulk up to her other teammates, but hey, match 4, I can't track it.
Yeah, I mean, the damage is gonna be an aspect, but I think as of right now, it's not gonna matter as much because that force that the Rune and the Dubu can pull out with Zoe and Expo-chan, it's just a lot. You can see Tragic has a very hard time keeping the barriers up. Matter of fact, he even has an easier time defending on the open goal because then you have a bit more area to be playing with. Dubu and Rune being really good at shutting down specific angles, but not necessarily shutting down the entire arc in front of you. So we'll see how it's going to pan out. The Banish comes out. Josh does not get taken out by the side of CYBR just yet. HP still low though, and even though Heavy Metal Gundam has better damage stat, HP bars right now are looking like the opposite.
Yeah, the Banish is coming out from Expo, just putting so much damage on Josh. They, I think, forced to spend his secondary cooldown and kind of just teleport on top of Josh whenever he's banished. Just stop the pillage from forming, but still a beautiful teleport from Expo, able to snipe the pass across the map, just stealing that possession away and taking the goal against Heavy Metal Gundam. And going into this set, a flip about to come out from Expo, and Zay forever, it could go either way at this point with both flips coming up.
Yeah, that's Rune secondary placement, which is so great from Expo because that's the second goal already that she was able to snipe by positioning it smartly, and she doesn't want to slow down in any way. She gets a double vanish there. Sadly, not able to capitalize on it as Pendulum Swing from Josh will actually get the KO, and Zay with a clean piercing shot will return the goal almost immediately. Strong point from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam here.
Yeah, rotates like that are what I think everyone wants to look for a lot more. For both the Rasmussen and Stella, both characters who can kind of take goals on their own with their long range, very hard hitting primary abilities. And against Era, who kind of only has pace whenever her secondary's up, and other than that, her abilities are kind of low range. I think rotates like that can be a great effect, kind of crossing up the angles of Cyberswipe. But keeping it in the corner for now, and again, it's time to take the primary, but a big explosion here actually put a lot of damage on Heavy Metal Gundam, which could be bad going into this set. It kills a triple banish coming out, and I mean the health bars aren't look great. The damage should be going towards Heavy Metal Gundam's favor, but there's so much damage coming out from the side of Cyberswipe that things are just looking low for everyone.
Yeah, and again, it's a surprising amount of damage, right? Because you wouldn't think of it that way, but it's just the characters on their own, they're just gonna do a lot of damage. Also, Era Beam, not to be underestimated, her primary does do a decent bit of damage. You're not really thinking about it from prior patches because it was a bit more difficult to consistently land it. But with the change, it's gonna hit their target very, very often, and it's gonna stack up. I've been in games actually since the patch where I had Centauros, where I had Estelles in lobby, but Era ended up being the one with the most damage in the end, which is a bit crazy to think about. But I mean, you can see it this game as well, right? Heavy Metal Gundam is just taking damage, and a decent part of it is just this assertive Era coming through with all of these beams and just dumping it over and over again.
Another thing about Beam is that Assertive is doing a very good job of trying to hit both the core and also Zoe with it. And whenever Zoe is beamed, she is at 222 power. And when Dooku secondary has like one of the largest like damage scalings in the game, that's nothing to scoff. Like getting hit by that roll whenever she's beamed, That hurts. And we've been seeing it coming out on the side of everyone. Like, whenever she's beamed and she gets a roll, it's a fat amount of damage. You're kind of chunking them out, getting ready for the banish kill. But Expo and Zoe keep it in the corner, looking to get the core to Zoe so that she can flip in the face of everyone on them. Almost gets it, but the clear from Tragic, spending his own flip to get it out, clears to the middle, and is up the field for everyone. Spending the Mako secondary to get up the field, but the flip comes out from the beam to Zoe. The 222 power flip just KOs Zay forever outright. And once again, the jostling extremely well, but beautiful primary to snipe the pass from serves to Expo. I mean, that's the what is that? That's triple size Erasmus with 2 Among Titans on him. That's nothing you can just pass around that easily.
Yeah, Josh had a really good eye there to watch out for that cross pass and punish it, because if he doesn't get that strike or doesn't get that pendulum swing, I think it's looking really grim for you at that point. But now suddenly you find yourself in a 0.5 in this third set, and you need to carry momentum as you can. You want to continue to play off of this goal, even if it is a good opportunity that has been found. In the end, the goal is a goal, and you need to find them even more now, because if you want to look to take this first game here, you're going to need to win 3 more sets. And the attack is still very relentless from the side of CYBR though. As they take a barrier, Tofu Fortress comes out, doesn't find the second just yet. Josh needs to flip and gets a double barrier with a great angle there. Now tries to run up. Flip has to come out from Assertive. She will hold on to it, but Josh with a great hook will get the core across. Defended well from Assertive and Zoe though. And the attack doesn't slow down. The strike does come through, and Assertive doesn't have the cooldowns to actually respond to it. Heavy Metal Gundam will find their first set here to force at least a set 4.
Yeah, a beautiful flip coming out from Zay earlier. Like, again, just be able to shoot it at the other side of where Era, she sometimes just doesn't have the tools to catch up to it in time. And now everyone was able to take their first set, and some big awakenings are going to be able to come in. Prime time coming out for this cell with both heavy impact and hot strike. She can have that primary up so often. And Zay forever getting more stacks. He's kind of keeping up now with the Among Titans that was initially keeping him from getting the core that often, but stacks and stacks lets him catch up much more easily now. And I think this is the first draft of this game that's going towards Heavy Metal Gundam's favor.
Yeah, it's going to help them a lot with what they need to be doing. It's still a bit scary on the side of CYBR because they do have a Super Surge on Era. This team is going to be so incredibly fast off the gates now as well. And the 1-2 punch on Dubu, Zoe might be looking for a little bit more damage now. Dubu turning into a proper brawler, one might think, as they take one barrier, try to set up a second one. Assertive doing a great aggressive push there, though, making use of these momentum boots. The recent buff working wonders for a pick like Era as well, and the pressure in the end was just too much as Expo-chan will find the barrier to actually get the goal and the point lead in this fourth set in favor of CYBR.
Yeah, great snap coming out from Expo, and like, the 1-2 punch from the Zoe is, again, doing so much damage. Like, just being so, you have to be so careful around this Dubu, because you don't know when she's gonna click spacebar and just boom, somersault slams the ground, just chunks out the other team, but unable to hit only hitting the core for that one, just kind of keeping possession in the corner. And Expo looking for a great banish against Zay, and again keeping it in the corner. This is where Dubu thrives. You don't want to be in this. You don't want to be striking against Dubu in the corner. They're real scary. But trying to just swing the damage on Expo attempting to find a teleport and take another point with it. But the rotates around the Dubu, and a huge, I mean, that's the 1-2 punch. Somersault rolls, just KOing Zay forever outright.
They do find the KO. They use a flip here as well now, trying to get this momentum going, to get the score in. And in the end, they do find the strikes. They find the pillar to also just completely destroy any kind of clear upwards there. So well played from Expo yet again. She's doing such a good job at being this nuisance up front with these pillars, making Tragic's life so much more difficult to properly play out these defenses, because either Tragic's going to hit it directly into Expo-chan, or it's going to hit it directly into her pillar. So there's kind of not really a proper answer at that point. And the side of CYBR is playing for that perfectly, as they also get a second barrier with a flip here. Matter of fact, they don't want to get this game going any longer, as they're here and immediately find the strike, find the goal, and find the victory in this game 1 on Atlas's lap.
Yeah, that was kind of a beautiful play coming out from Zoe, just kind of dribbling in their face in the corner with Assertive actually managing to get a beam during all of that to give Zoe even more size to kind of just secure the round with the slick kicks and size. Just so fast, and it's really hard to track that Dubu. I mean, Dubu's got the biggest strike box in the game. I mean, and striking around him is a lot harder than it can look at first, especially once he gets enough size or speed to just kind of take advantage of that strike box.
Yeah, I mean, even if you find a way around them, in the end, Dubu can just answer with like the somersault and then just stop the core anyways. Or if you're not past them already, Dubu has the tool to just completely lock you out of anything with the primary and ultimate. So, well executed from Zoe here, and it's Dubu as well. 21,000 damage. Very much not bad for a Dubu. You wouldn't think of a Dubu as a damaging character. If we're looking at damage though, Josh actually, 37,000 on the Rasmus, really showing why these Awakenings mattered so much for the Rasmus here. But in the end, they got a lot of damage. They didn't really get the KO confirms though, because CYBR did have more KOs in total than a Heavy Metal Gundam player.
Yeah, Rasmus still managed to put almost 40k despite the damage nerfs he got for the exact reason. I mean, his Awakenings were nothing to scoff at. A lot of impact damage, and of course a fight the Colossus on top of all that. But just only able to find a couple of kind of knockback KOs, not really able to get that much damage stacked up on other team, which it can be a little rough against Dubu, who's got that much HP, and Rune, who is a character that a lot of people kind of can't figure out why he can kill, but that teleport, just be able to go from one side of that to another, it kind of ignores the damage that Rune can take. Just be able to completely disengage and usually find like an orb left for him in the team. It's extremely hard to find like damage KOs against this team. So it could be interesting what they might try to adapt to do with their team comp. Maybe a less traditional Rasmus, Mako, Estelle, and maybe looking for something a bit more unorthodox to get through. Well, let's be clear, CYBR's very unorthodox team with a Dubu Brawler.
Incredibly unorthodox, and I feel like if we're looking at the next game as well, we're going to Taiko Temple, right? Dubu Brawler can still very much work on Taiko Temple as well. So it's something that you need to keep in mind when you're going into this draft, that there is a potential that Zoe will just lock it in again. And I'd argue it's even better on Taiko Temple than it is on Atlab, specifically just because it is less area to play for. So that big Dubu strike range that you were talking about earlier is going to be even more difficult to play around. And also, the Rune, I feel like, also very much underrated on a map like Taiko Temple. With these pillars, can be so incredibly annoying to work around. So honestly, I feel like if CYBR can get an identical draft going for Taiko Temple, they would be pretty happy already. So I'm curious to see how Heavy Metal Gundam will try to approach this next draft, to maybe disallow such a strong comp from coming through, or if maybe, again, like you said, maybe they're feeling a bit spicy themselves.
If you can get around the secondary, you should have so much time to work with now. And then with Juno Rasmus, they're very low cooldowns, so you can take advantage of that. Like if they could spend one primary for the price of a secondary, it just comes out like 10 seconds faster than Atlas.
Yeah, most definitely gonna be the play, but we'll see how it's gonna be panning out, as the first barrier does drop already on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. The second one just barely holding on, as again, you'll see what you saw last game, right? You'll see Zoe up front on this Dubu pick, doing the damage, taking the barriers, Expert Chan with great banishes, and the pillars that are gonna be making it very difficult for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam to defend, and that's kind of how it started off here as well. Both barriers dropping pretty fast, but it's going to get answered by one barrier now initially from Doxy. Zay on the Rasmus is going to try to walk up here. Good Juno Blob will keep the core up front, as Assertive will still hold on to this barrier for now. But CYBR can't really get the core in any position where they can get a solid attack going. Defense in the midfield area already from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam looking really effective.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough getting, especially the midfield line into the corner against. They basically have 3 defensive goalies on the team with CYBR. I mean, Dubu Atlas is one thing, but Rune just kind of be able to kill her on top of these small barriers is extreme. It's going to be extremely annoying to Heavy Metal Gundam to get there. Again, all these creations, it's going to be such a nuisance, but to find a kill on Zoe, this is the kills that we need to look for on Heavy Metal Gundam, and just kind of force out this Dubu from being able to just walk all over our face.
Yeah, and you will do that by finding KOs like that. You're also going to be able to find a goal like that as the bounces favor the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. There, Zay puts it in the corner and just slightly out of reach from Assertive there, as she's not quite able to get to it. Energy looking very high across the board, but heavily in favor of the side of Heavy Metal Gundam as well, as Zoe has been taken out and has been reset in that department. So Tragic has flipped, Doxy's going to get her flip soon, and Zay has flipped soon as well. First coming out here to defend from the side of Tragic, as Assertive might have to flip defensively here. Never mind, a great strike will just completely shut down the flip from Zay there, and Energy actually now being slightly in favor of the side of CYBR. What's not in favor are the HP bars, so his Expo's just getting bounced around the map.
Yeah, I mean, the Deadeye coming off from the Juno is and just heavy impact start in general is putting so much value. I mean, again, look at both. Not only has Expo's died, but he's so low right now. And again, with Rune Doom not really output any damage to fight back. They're kind of just forced to either keep the core up or die trying.
Yeah, Flip has to come out from assertive there to actually hold on to the point, but the attack immediately gets set up by Zay and Doxy again. As the core does find its way up, but Tragic holding a strong offensive line on this era, right? Making use of these momentum boots, making use of that extra speed to intercept the core as early as possible and keep the attack up. And we do get the core on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, but it's almost immediately being sent back to CyberSwipe. So as of right now, game state just kind of feels like CyberSwipe is just kind of playing to survive the current point and kind of hoping on maybe some kind of mistake from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam to let the core sneak through, because Era doesn't really have the best like coverage in terms of width in the net. So maybe you get a funny little angle off the drums into the net, but it's not been found yet, as Doxy actually does get the funny angle with the Blobos to get a 2-point lead in this first set in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, I mean, Juno Era, they able to kind of just use their primaries off the wall, trying to take the core back up is very, very strong. It's just stopping Zoe and Expo from getting the kind of corner plan that they want, but a great kill coming out from Zoe. Again, the roll ultimate, this Dubu character, he's got his own unique little dash punch. But again, these low cooldown primary killers able to kind of get up the field, denying any power play that CyberSwipe really was looking for. And Heavy Metal Gundam is again just starting their own offense, able to find so many opportunities with their kind of low commitment characters. Oh, beautiful Deadeye Juno core speed, just kind of sending it past Atlas for Surge to react to their secondary. But CyberSwipe is not able to actually get their corner that they've been looking for, and things are not looking great. Low energy on the Dubu, and a shock coming out from Tragic with the flip, defended by Surf, and again, things are not looking great. Low, Zoe Witch low on the other side of the field, can be KO'd anytime by a Rise Hook. It's a really stressful situation, in fact, that would be it.
Yeah, it's difficult to really be playing through that, because again, the pressure just doesn't, they just are not giving any kind of area for the side of CyberSwipe to play, right? Heavy Metal Gundam just continuously pressuring them, using these blobbles to intercept, using these pendulum swings and these death touches to find KOs. And in current state, I feel like this was a very decisive set 1 win for Heavy Metal Gundam, and they are rewarded with this draft here. Hotshot is in here. Reptile Remedy might be something to consider as well, because if Zoe is able to pick up something like that, maybe she's going to stay on the map longer, but there's just so many high-value awakenings here to pick up over it, so we'll see how that's going to go.
Yeah, I would like to see a double stagger tonight come out from Heavy Metal Gundam, but often pick up the sides on their eyes. Letting stop that, being able to just kind of run over the map like they've been kind of doing so far. You know, picking up the aerials to look for maybe even more Deadeye value. I think the main thing this round is that Zoe was able to pick up a Reptile Remedy. Again, we saw last game that Zoe was basically unkillable once she picked that up. So it could be rough for everyone. All the damage they were able to get on Zoe in the last set could possibly be null every time she checks score, getting 4% health. There's a lot, but let's be clear. Heavy Metal Gundam wasn't only killing the Dubu last set. Both actually was also looking extremely low and occasionally even asserting. So even though Dubu picked up a Reptile Remedy, it might not be over for the damage game plan in Heavy Metal Gundam.
It might not be over, but it's definitely going to be more difficult, because you also have the Spark of Leadership pick up for Expo Chat. Now, it's not a lot of stagger, but right, it's a little bit, and it sets you up potentially as well to start stacking sparks throughout the game as well, so we'll see how that's going to pan out. And Assertive is incredibly happy with the hotshot pickup for the Atlas as well, right? Atlas being a great user of that hotshot, it gives that a little bit of extra speed, and more importantly gives you these cooldowns to have that ultimate and those secondaries up much more consistently, which again, the Atlas ultimate's going to be a great tool with staying alive, and you can kind of see it as well as the set is being played out. It does look a lot stronger from the side of CyberSwipe. In the end, Zay did end up getting the first goal with a great death touch there to actually shoot it right past Expo's chance defense there, but they're putting up much more of a fight now, which is already a great sign for them.
I mean, Zoe being able to kind of walk up safely is what is really kind of denying damage from Heavy Metal Gundam. Like, Expo is no longer forced to kind of make up for the fact that the Dubu is 0 HP in the net, and just be able to kind of walk up for free now. I mean, Zoe's been eating so many abilities at this point, and she's feeling good, full HP over there. Dubu does not care right now, striking through all three of them. Zypher will force the pop flip to get it back out, but things are not looking good. They're gonna 2 flips coming out or up on the side of CYBR. They could just go in at any moment.
Yeah, Expo-chan is, I think, trying to position herself to get a flip out of the rune here, right? Try to get that secure as well to even off the set, but she wasn't able to get herself positioned quite yet as the banish comes out. Flip comes out now as well. Tries to pass it to Zoe, but a great interrupt from Doxy will actually shut that down almost immediately. The strike from Zoe will send it back to the attack, but Tragic, Doxy, and Zay just doing such a good job finding the gap here as well, and now immediately setting up their own attack as this Deadeye in overtime comes out from the Juno, red coring it and sending it past Assertive there to take the barrier. Assertive does have a defensive flip if she does need to use it, but for now opts to use the secondary to get it out over to the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. Zay actually now being the target in terms of damage, looking really low here, but will be able to recover some of the HP. I think Zay might be dead here. No, still holding on.
Oh, no pillars coming out from Expo, nothing off cooldown. And unfortunately, the Gino with Hotshot, setting up, or not Hotshot, just Deadeye, just Deadeye, nerf Deadeye. Setting the core so fast that Serp's not able to react in time with second, and unfortunately bounces off the secondary and put it into the net before Heavy Metal Gundam.
We'll see if they can keep this momentum going, because in terms of points, right, Heavy Metal Gundam is having quite a strong streak, right? This is I think 5 unanswered goals in a row now, whereas the last 2 goals were much more of a fight. In the end, it's still great for your momentum and great for your mental there as well to have such a situation, and they're trying to keep this going, trying to get another 3-0 set here. A great banish comes out from Expo-chan, but answered almost immediately by the flip from Tragic here, and it's just a lot of back and forth in that bottom corner, a lot of abilities being used, but nothing really falling. As Tofu Fortress comes out from Zoe, doesn't really find a target in the end though, as now the attack is trying to be built up again, but again, it's just like nothing, a lot is happening, but not a lot is happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the CYBR is very comfortable with just playing out these defensive directions in the corner. I mean, like I said earlier, they've got a lot of defensive abilities to order. They've got, basically 5 on the Dubu and Atlas. Then occasionally the rune and the covers there. Oh, a beautiful banish and then shot to the top side. Coming out from Expo, showing off that their rune can kind of just find, that's what they're looking for, right? Looking for Assertive and Zoe to kind of get the core out using the defensive ability. Use runes, pillars that can kind of take control wherever the core ends up going, and just kind of find these goals out of whatever situations they can get.
Yeah, they do need to find themselves up on the enemy half though, and right now Doxy has something to say about it as she takes a second barrier there as well. Zay now front, trying to get this goal in, trying to call the set right here, but they can't get it past Assertive. She's just holding on so well on the defensive end there. Strike Shot also interrupting the core a bit early there, making it easier for the defense, and you just see Zoe and Expo-chan doing a good job as much as they can with these creations, trying to keep it up, trying to hold it in the midfield area, but actually Zay finds a beautiful flip there and just threads the needle in the top half of the goal there. Surf just barely out of reach, not being able to get to that core.
Yeah, and the upbeat 2-0 right now after what was kind of a rough last game for Heavy Metal Gundam. I mean, things probably feeling great for them right now. Juno is getting an option, picks up the fighter flight, and lets the speed not only on Juno, but also her blobs can be extremely hard to deal with. And the Castle has on air as well, just to keep these beams up. But team player on Alice might just be what CYBR was looking for. Just again, kind of get the core out quickly so that Rune can look for kind of whatever plays that Rune wants. I mean, he's got TP, he's got Pillar. That's a lot of scary. It's 2 scary abilities to deal with on the ground for whatever they're looking for to get the core out.
Yeah, most definitely. The specialized training on Dubu is going to be quite lethal, and also first spark pickup for Expo-chan that isn't leadership. So if the side of CYBR can win this set and force another draft here, they're looking actually pretty good, right? Because there's only been 2 sparks in drafts so far, which means if they can get a set win here, and they're gonna get priority picks on that draft, and if Expo-chan can put herself in a situation where she's going to get first pick. Maybe we can even get a focus or a strength on this room here. So, and together with that leadership, that could just completely change up the dynamic of this game as well. So, incredibly important set for the side of CYBR to win here, because I feel like if they are able to do it, we might be looking at a reverse sweep overall.
Yeah, next drafts are going to be extremely scared. If CYBR can start winning these sets, like you said, these drafts are going to be getting extremely scared for them. A lot of big awakenings that haven't come out yet, like Timeless Creator for either of the creation characters, more size for the Dubu, and of course the Sparks pickups for Expo. Could be just kind of game ending, and the team player already kind of coming into play here. Just gotta be able to shoot. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That's a little bit fast.
Yeah, it's a little hard to react to, but the flicker of the Dead Vegeta also sending the core so fast. I mean, odd shot, Deadeye, and by the way, 1-2 still in the pool. A lot of core speed in this game. Just kind of looking to just break the opponent's angles, kind of destroy their minds with the core speed, unable to react to how fast the core speed going.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about reaction times before with the arrow beam. I feel like there is something that's a bit more difficult to react to, and that's whatever's happening in this game right now, because it is just being sent back and forth continuously. Cooldowns are coming out. Zay uses the flip here aggressively as well. Tries to get the second barrier, but doesn't get it, as Expo tries to set herself up to get the second off of Tragic, but not quite able to do so as the somersault comes out from Zoe. Gets a funny bounce on Zay there. Gets the primary to actually secure the barrier here, and now Zoe trying to confirm the skull as Assertive is holding on so well on the defense there with this Atlas, making good use of these cooldowns and making sure that the second barrier doesn't drop, because it's so much easier for an Atlas to hold on to one barrier than an open goal. So as long as Assertive is able to hold on to this barrier, CYBR's looking pretty. And then they're looking even prettier because they just got that flip, they got that KO. That's a huge XP boost for Expo Chan as well, which is important because you want Expo Chan to be the first pick in this draft if you do happen to win this set.
Yeah, and I will say that flip, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that was because I think Expo just decided to flip so that she could hit stun the arrow on the other side, but tried to go so far back in that it actually did just manage to kill. It is a very, very good look for CYBR. Again, the XP, great for Rune specifically, who's kind of been in the middle side some of these drafts, but able to try to look for a first pick next start, maybe even a second, force them to deny Spark. And only one Spark, not that great of a pickup for anyone on another team, but just able to, no barriers lost yet for CYBR. Doxy attempting to jump in, trying to get some offense started, but this team player on Alex, just, every time the core gets up, it just gets back in immediately. Team player. But even so, they're kind of forced to defend in the corner, try to look for a NATO setup, forcing Expo to evade. But I mean, the core speed is just, the core is just going so fast. Except on Taiko Temple, when the core can just bounce off the drum like that and go past everyone on the field.
And again, Expo Chan was the one, was the person that ended up getting that goal, right? Which again is a really good look if you're looking to get that pick on the rune, as they almost immediately find the first barrier, can't quite get the second one, as a great flip from Tragic will actually trade it, but now Zoe's in the corner with flip on the Stubu. Surely this means we're going to get this barrier as the flip comes out from Doxy. Great angle, will absolutely disengage that situation though, but they're not out of the hot water yet, as Zoe and Assertive both have flipped to their names. Can use them defensively, or might have to use them defensively. A bit late on Assertive there. As the Judo Blow was completely mix her up and actually get it around her excellently. We're now looking at Heavy Metal Gundam being one goal away from taking game 2 and tying the series.
Yeah, I mean, those were some beautiful redirections coming out from Doxy. Kind of just crossing up the entire enemy team with those walls, going on every single one of them to get slotted in the top side. And things are looking up for Heavy Metal Gundam, only 1 point away from taking the series, but this might just be the most important point in this set, or in this game, for either deciding whether or not CYBR have been able to scale with their Sparks and possibly pick up more core speed, or if Heavy Metal Gundam can just close the game out before they want to let that happen.
That flip was very scary there, but well defended from Tragic, as Zoe was able to almost get a double barrier, but matter of fact that she did not get a single one. Expo though will use her pillars there to get this first barrier down on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, as sort of still holding on for both barriers right now. Caster Curse, it is one barrier now down on both sides. Heavy Metal Gundam trying to keep up the pressure here, trying to close off this game as soon as they can, but the side of CYBR has something to say about it. The Spanish comes out from Expo Chan, gets a core onto enemy half again, but Tragic is going to be able to find that clear through the bottom. Zoe there to answer it. But the Strike Wars, they're clean from both sides. no one's clearly outperforming the other as it stands right now in terms of strike wars, which means it's going to be so back and forth. And that one mistake that a player can make will be so impactful when it comes to winning this point.
Yeah, I mean, 2 flips coming out, both whipping the core. I mean, both sides are just so scared. I mean, look at how fast that just the rune pillar is sending it. But a huge barrier take from CYBR. It was his first side to get a barrier taken, and with how fast the core can be going sometimes. But such an unfortunate Atlas secondary, not quite coming out in time, trapping the core in the core, and Doxy taking that opportunity to jump flip in there right as the gate is opening up, and securing the game as a kind of, not, I wouldn't say decisive, but a very strong 3-0 coming up from Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, Heavy Metal Gundam, they looked a bit more, or the side of CYBR looked a lot more competitive towards the end there when they started scaling, when they started getting stronger. But in the end, Heavy Metal Gundam just had that little bit of extra pressure, that little bit of extra force to take the set and take the game. And I feel like that's just so important, right? Because I genuinely believe if we go to a set 4 there, the game looks completely different. And Heavy Metal Gundam would have to start sweating to take the game. So incredibly important for them that they took that third set and that took this game to force us into a game 3 situation.
Yeah, I'd like to point out the very different damage numbers kind of for both teams. We kind of expected this coming into the game, but having, like, hold on, they have about double the damage of the other team, just kind of showing how much more value they're able to get out of the starting awakenings. No one on the other team, outside of, I guess Expo getting the Deadeye value every now and then, was able to get that much value at starting awakenings, but Heavy Metal Gundam kind of went as far as they could with it, with 2 heavy impact pickups, and I think the biggest one being the Deadeye Juno, just to be able to not only get so much more damage passively off random slimes that the enemies are kind of forced to walk on, but as we saw, the core speed from Deadeye, especially in overtime, kind of went very far in that game. To be able to hit it upfield so fast before anyone could react, and just be able to steal so many more goals than Juno would have been able to otherwise.
Yeah, and that held a lot of value, right? That Runo pick that come in, that substitution that the side of Heavy Metal Gundam made for this game too definitely made sense and paid off. So we'll see how they're going to be approaching this game 3. And game 3 is going to be Demon Dice. So we've had like 2 games here that I'd argue are pretty normal. You know, you have like an Atlab, you have a Taiko Temple. We've seen those before. They happen. It's very entertaining to watch and play out. And when you get into Demon Dice, I feel like a lot of strategy just gets thrown out the window.
I don't know, is it able to adjust to that? They might just not be able to get the core up the field, which is very important for damage. Not being able to kind of have the core up while you're hitting them is very important for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. It does not want to spend their abilities to keep the core up, but actually it is a Rasmus midfield. I was thinking it was going to be Rasmus goalie and looking for Finny midfield, but Rasmus midfield is pretty good. However, he does not get as much Pauldron's value, or he's not missing on the Pauldron's value I think he would have gotten, but hey, good like to see, but there's the Kazan value coming out immediately. Dash hook immediately putting in bottom side. As we saw, that CYBR wasn't able to actually keep the core up the entire time, so it could be exactly what we're talking about, where they're just kind of able to deny possession from Heavy Metal Gundam, not let them get their damage game from the.
Yeah, because that's what you're gonna have to play for, right? Because as soon as you're giving that damage kind of like control to the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, you're gonna start falling behind pretty swiftly, and you're gonna have to start scrambling to get some kind of results going. So very much looking to be suffocating the side of Heavy Metal Gundam there with that control, as they are continuously on the attack here. Somehow it's only now got the first barrier there, as Serif's not going to be playing through the back. Josh is going to be able to get this first barrier touch on the Rasmus, but actually surprising amounts of damage on the forwards on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam there, as Josh almost gets taken out now. The barrier does end up dropping on the side of CYBR, but the play is in no way dead so far, as they're looking to get the second barrier touch on Tragic.
I will say, even though it's going to be less likely for CYBR to find this chaos, they aren't going to, if they ever get anyone staggered, it is almost okay. A little bit of a primary kind of putting the core in. It happens. Rune's a hard character. Sometimes you just misplace the primary, and you kind of have to be able to come back to the mistakes that someone has made on such a difficult character.
Yeah, also, I want to point out here, if I am assertive here, I would have a serious think about maybe trying to go pauldrons just for survivability. Maybe it's a bit grief, but I mean that is the game plan from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, right? They're just wanting to take you out, and pauldrons, that damage reduction can do quite a bit for you. And you see it in the gear choice as well. Zoe ended up going for the Vambrace pickup here, which is the reason why she's continuously healthy, and also a reason why she's not going to be damage dumped into as much as Expo-chan or Assertive, because she can just heal it up almost immediately whenever she gets a touch on core, which is going to help her quite a bit with playmaking potential up front. But it's going to be difficult to get playmaking up front if your defensive line is taken off the map, as Expo-chan and Assertive are just kind of fighting for their lives right now.
I will say though, if Aaron did pick up pauldrons, she's a better pauldrons user than one might think, because her getting size when she beams, I mean, I know her size on beam has never been nerfed. I think it's like a solid 40%, plus the 30% coming out from pauldrons. I mean, 70% size is nothing to scoff at. It is extremely hard to kind of get past that strike box. But like both barriers down is actually looking in favor of CYBR. The two creators can kind of take advantage of all this open space. But Flip coming out from Safe River almost finds the bottom side shot, but the air buff's kind of saving the core just in time. But both Expo and Zoe looking extremely low. If Hero Guns can get any of these go confirmed, it might just be over.
It might just be over, but Zoe just uses one open form primary on the Kazan, is almost close to being full HP again. Vambrace is very much doing its thing here as Expo is slowly recovering her HP as well. Still gets damaged on by Zay, but in the end the pillars are too much for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam to defend. And even though we kind of went into this game expecting Heavy Metal Gundam to just kind of walk over the side of CyberSwipe with the damage that they have, CyberSwipe is actually managing themselves excellently to not give those KOs. They do have to take the damage. It's difficult to completely avoid it, but by smart positioning and rotations between Expo-chan and Assertive as well, they're not being taken off the map, which means in the end it's still going to be a 3v3 core control type of game plan in which their team comp is very much favored.
But still a lot of... Oh wait, great. Wait, that flip was crazy. Losing one barrier to actually take the second barrier of CyberSwipe was actually kind of huge, but CyberSwipe is able to find their own second barrier and trying to get forced to use the Finial defensively. And unfortunately, the Arab Tornado actually makes it roll around the Finial and bounce straight back at the top side of that. CyberSwipe kind of stealing the first set, and this could be huge for whatever awakenings you're able to find.
Ooh, you do see a prime time, which is going to help with the core control aspect of it. The only real survivability awakening that you have here is Big Fish for the HB. Fighter Flight's going to do a good job for you in terms of like speed. It's going to give you your secondary back, which is a great pickup for Expo-chan because you mentioned it in previous games. Rune has the ability to just completely disengage immediately on that secondary. So if Rune ever gets staggered and not taken off the map almost immediately, Expo-chan is going to be able to just completely swap sides of the map depending on the placement, which is going to help quite a bit. The prime time, a great pickup for Serve as well, especially considering we're starting with a Castle last here. These buffs and debuffs going to last so long here. But if we're talking damage, I don't think we can ignore the heavy impact Centauro that Zay was able to pick up there.
Yeah, the heavy impact is going to be finding a lot of value on the Zen, especially for more cooldowns when you can keep Stinger up more often. But I will say, they waited everyone waited an extremely long time in draft to let Centaur get his heavy impact. It kind of did lead to CyberSwipe getting all three of like their first covered like best Kazan awakening. Size Kazan, and that is one of the most annoying picks to come out from. But I would like to point out that that's the first offensive Finial that we'll see for kind of been kind of forced to use the Finials defensively with how much pressure is coming out from the Kazan Rune combo, which a lot of us like a huge number of damage coming out onto Zay forever, and is kind of forced to stay in the back right now. And Josh able to find the kill token from with his ultimate, and everyone gonna finally able to put their KO plan into fruition, and manages to not only get the goal, but manages to get a sort of flip out as well. In a great start for HMG.
That is great for them as well, because not only do they have the energy advantage, Expo-chan and Zoe both just have one flip to their name, Assertive have none. So if Zay ever decides to just do funny Zentaro things and just completely stand on top of them, make use of that heavy impact and that stinger, there's not really a lot they can do about it, as Zoe's just being taken off the map there as well. Power play in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam now. They almost immediately get one barrier, get the second barrier. Josh running up with the Ravnus, tries to get the goal in, but doesn't quite find the angle up, finds the strike past Assertive there. breaking her ankles ever so slightly as they find another goal, and more importantly, they were able to find it without having to use a flip. Josh basically one strike off of getting a flip, and Zay very close to his as well.
A beautiful hook coming out from Josh, and a actually beautiful bad coming from Exo, but unfortunately, with the core being backside means that she was unable to look for any pillars to get maximum damage out of it. But Zoe managed to find a huge primary kill, finding a kill on Zay, taking out all that energy, and things are now so low for Josh. It was kind of completely turning this set. Maybe it would completely turn the set around if they were to secure this point with all the energy they managed to take.
Ooh, the best touch there sent it flying right past Assertive, not able to get into position to defend the barrier, but the KO is still being found on Josh there, as now Expo-chan just wins strike war after strike war up front. Really well executed.
That was a little disturbing. Expo opting to dribble into her own primary, actually giving her the strike reset and immediately able to hit it past Tragic before his strike is up. Very, very well played. And that point was very, very big for CYBR. They managed to steal so much energy. If you kind of look at it right now, the energy's kind of been flipped. Zoe now being one with flip coming up, and Josh having no flip himself, and immediately able to take both barriers with that flip, and it just looked so scary. Open that with a Kazan in the front, now beamed. I mean, things are just so hard to deal with a Kazan with that much size in your net.
Yeah, they just completely they had such a great offense to take the barriers, and then didn't let up right after it either to force this 0.5 now, in which, again, they're not too far off of flips, right? Expo-chan and Assertive are close to having theirs, as Zoe's fighting for her life right now. But the energy is still looking pretty nice on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam as well. Zay has a flip, uses it here, but gets answered with a normal strike almost immediately. Tragic has a flip as well if they need to use it defensively, as the banish comes out from Expo-chan. She gets taken off the map though, so power play now in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam, but the barriers are falling on their side as well, as CYBR is just not letting up the aggression even if they're down a member.
Yeah, it was beautiful NATO coming up from Sir. Kind of getting him split the path and open up a little shot for Zoe, but another Finny ultimate coming out, forcing a serve to spend the flip and actually move all the way out the field, afraid of death, but the core being on the other side of the field means that Josh and Zay are able to really look for a kill on Assertive, and she's able to pick up an orb and a double beam. Kind of so scary right now. It forcing Josh to flip it out, but so much damage coming. I think things are super good for CYBR. They keep the core up, keep the damage up. I think they're super stressful in that fight. Right? I don't even know what killed Expo there. I'm gonna be honest. Whew.
I don't think I saw either, but what I see right now is double barrier on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. Zay in front of the net with flip, and will just put it right in. Very unfortunate misplay there from the end of the CYBR side to end up losing that set, as we're now going into the second draft, and Centauro first pick is something to be worried about. We have a 1-2 punch, we have an adrenaline rush. Ooh, there's gonna be a bit of damage in this draft.
Yeah, a lot of options coming out. I'm very happy that Zay opted to deny the Reptile Remedy from Zoe. We saw how much value he got in game 1 and 2, but the Adrenaline Rush being denied from Heavy Metal Gundam is actually pretty big for CYBR. We haven't been able to see it. They've been able to pick up a kill every now and then, and just one kill. If Zoe could be the one to kill confirm it, is going to be huge. Not only resetting all of Kazan's cooldowns, because it applies to both forms, but also the movement speed just lets him run all over the map with a slow strike.
Yeah, we'll see if it's gonna be paying off. As of right now, though, Zoe's just fighting for her life. Damage coming out, but the fan raise not doing so much. A lot of damage coming through. The HP just resetting as well. Zoe's back to close to being half HP. CYBR will find the barrier here. Tries to play Tragic, but Tragic is gonna be able to strike it out cleanly. As again, Zoe's being put down into stagger. And Assertive now running up, trying to make use of those momentum boots, of that extra speed that Era has. Zoe back to have HP again. Honestly, personal MVP is that Vambrace pick on Zoe. She's just getting so much HP back continuously without them.
Yeah, it's been able to get so much value, but Zay almost managing to find the dribble to look for the flip. Things not looking great for Centauro right now. Forced to burn the flip to keep the core up, but Assertive being the one to actually up the walk all the way up with the long boots and speed and flip the core in herself with a beautiful shot onto the top side. All right, as we saw at that point, it is a very, very chaotic game here already. A lot of things can happen, and a lot of people are getting low, forced to spend evades, forced to spend their flips. That kind of whoever can take more, whoever can like take initiative and kind of take advantage of like the very chaotic situations that they're able to deal with, or being the ones able to kind of secure these points.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot of abilities being tossed out because, again, we're on Demon Dice. That's just kind of how this map works. As a barrier now does drop on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, they're still in the corner. Zoe doing a good job contesting that as a big vanish comes out from Expo-chan there to disrupt the defense. Flip has to come out from Josh here, which means Josh is going to be on 0 of 8 now, which Zoe's going to be able to catch on almost immediately. Never mind, she's going to prefer taking the KO off of Zay there, and with the Adrenaline Rush proc, all these cooldowns reset, and that extra speed buff, she was able to just get that goal in really quick.
Yeah, Zoe wish we would kind of like threaten these KOs with primary. It's really huge, especially with how much that assertive and actually kind of forcing out evades. I mean, Rune Banish is one thing, but people don't talk about that. Era NATO being on such a slow cooldown means they can kind of find evades out a lot more easily than one might think. And Zoe's just kind of putting this to work, using the energy lead to get her flip in and kind of force the Heavy Metal Gun in such a defensive position. Though no barriers taken yet. They're attempting to move their way up the field and kind of fight back. Tragic looking for any pressure he can get with the long range finny abilities, but the core barely doesn't go into the Rune pillar. And again, so much pressure coming up to the Rune Kazan combo. So many hitboxes, low cooldowns. It's just so scary. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's very scary. Zoe's also very scared right now, though, as she's being put down into stagger and almost taken out. Josh not quite able to get the kill confirmed there. Right, as the flip comes out from Tragic. Assertive is 1 strike away, has a flip herself now. Is Josh being put down into stagger now? Will likely die here? No, I don't think the angle's quite right. He's going to be able to stay alive with the flip still, and Zoe wants to get Josh out of here. But needs to be careful, as Zay actually is the one to kill confirm on her, as the barrier now drops as well for the on the side of CYBR. He's sort of trying to run up, but not quite able to get the attack going. But an unfortunate angle from Tragic will shoot it into the into the pillar from Expo-chan, and that's the Castellas difference there.
Yeah, yeah, the Castellas, as we saw, the core barely hit on time to kind of keep the core in for as long as possible, and just barely tried to miss timing what time the Castellas Rune killer would go away. Unfortunately, puts it in 3-0 coming up from a CYBR, and now picking up the Timeless Rune with the Castellas. I mean, these pillars are going to start lasting forever, and with recovery jump picked up from Zoe the Witch, the game plan for Heavy Metal Gundam just got a lot harder to execute.
Most definitely going to be more difficult to find these KOs on Zoe, and the Monumentalist on Era is also going to be something to consider, because that's going to be a lot of damage coming out from these NATOs now, which have already been finding so much value. The saving grace that he do have is that Josh was able to pick up the Spark of Focus, which is just, together with the Spark of Leadership, is going to help your entire team a little bit on that cooldown department to just get more damage out consistently. But I feel like, looking at the draft as a whole, CYBR were able to pick up huge awakenings for themselves here.
Yeah, I mean, like nothing terrible was picked up from Heavy Metal Gundam, but the amount of value that's going to be gotten from, like, there's just so much more, like, the characters like, defining. Like, Aramonu, Rune Timeless is insane, but great actually combo coming out from Heavy Metal Gundam, combo all their primaries together. But Zoe just clicking the primer button once, just kind of windboxing Save Forever into the bottom side of the map, and looking for it again with the Dread Rush proc. Zoe coming up, vanished, and things are looking really low for Zoe, but Zen ult is spent to actually get the barrier, which is strong, but now there's nothing really to KO Zoe, even though she... Okay, well, I was gonna say it's gonna be hard to find a kill confirm, but well played, Save Forever, I guess.
able to get it at a crucial moment there. Gets a power play now as well, but it's sort of doing a good job holding on to this defense. Josh might have to use the flip here to get this in, but they're currently still greeting, trying to get it without it. Not willing to use the flip because sort of can just answer with the flip of their own. As the attack still holds. If any ultimate coming out, Expo-chan being put down into stagger, but actually the goal will be found by Josh there, using that flip with a great time.
Yeah, again, just be able to, like, that was a very, like, again, chaotic point where the Gothams, they were actually by double vanish coming up from Expo getting the double pillar, and yeah, I mean, Save Forever just nuked off the map. And luckily he's able to pick up an orb to get himself unsired, but things are not looking great for either. Both of them, no evade, half HP, and double beamed again. If Zoe can find some like strong abilities like open primary and like open ultimate, like she can find one of these kills and just kind of take the game with the adrenaline rush. Just looking for these open primaries, these open low strikes, just keeping the core up the field.
Yeah, the pressure is not giving in at all from the side of CYBR here, as they're continuously just walking upfield assertive, doing such a good job making use of this era pick, being so aggressive and upfield, essentially acting like a second midfielder almost, which just makes it so much more difficult for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam to really get a clear out. And even if you do get it onto the enemy side, assertive with that era, with that primetime cast the last era, is going to make sure you're continuously weak and small, while her teammates are going to be absolutely massive. Flip coming out here. Tragic is going to be able to catch it for now. The recovery drone was popped off of Zoe there as well. So now Kazan back on the KO board. But the strikes are going to be found. Tragic not able to get up in time to go catch it, as we are now in a best of three left in the set.
Yeah, I will say a lot of resources were spent from CYBR at that point. Like both ultimates from Rude and drinks back. I mean, I should stop talking. Arrow data's off. Let's be honest. That's an 18-second cooldown. But I would point at the recovery drone being Alpha Zoe means that she's a valid cooldown. With that Finny card, if that hit, we're almost been staggered already, but no evades anymore. And Zayprepper has realized this and actually just kind of looking to dump damage on Zoe before she can get any value out of the vamp race. With no more recovery drone, is able to actually find the kill and look for their own power play. A beautiful flip angle coming from Zayforever. Kind of to pass around the Rune era, with Josh looking for his own opportunities, and a beautiful primary coming in from Zay to kind of just slot it in. Yeah, the recovery drone being out like last point, huge for Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, and at this point now, whereas the size on Kazan does so much work for Zoe here, it's now slowly turning into Sleight of a Curse, right? Because now your hitbox is absolutely massive, and you do not have anything to keep you alive other than that big fish HP, and the recovery drone that, well, is gone now. So your Van Braces are still going to do quite a bit for you, but the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, they've scaled with damage, so it gets increasingly more difficult to kind of offset that with the Van Brace here. As the KO gets found again on Zoe the Witch, and now power play in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam. They're now only one goal away from forcing a set 5 here, as Josh finds another KO, assertive in a 3v1. Is she going to be able to hold on to this point for long enough? Zoe back on the field. A huge NATO finds the KO on Zay there, as now 2v2 and soon a power play in favor of CYBR. They're very much not giving up. A bigger banish comes out from Expo Chat as both barriers drop. CYBR does not want to go into a set 5 situation here, as now open goal on both sides. Zoe is getting low and not taken out just yet though, as assertive now back to catching that core there, and we're still alive.
Wow. I mean, that point was looking unwinnable for CYBR, but a huge NATO, and then a beautiful banish coming out from assertive and Expo just kind of stole that point away. Able to bounce back from being down 2 players. I mean, it was just beautiful to look at.
Absolutely beautifully executed there, but now we're back to another 0.5. We're back into another situation where Assertive's going to walk up, make use of that era, make use of that flip, will find the goal open right there, as Josh uses the flip but doesn't find the core with it. Assertive again running up, but this is the downside of when you're running up like that. If the core gets past you, it's going to be a bit awkward to recover, as Heavy Metal Gundam is going to be back on the offense here again. But Zay and Josh not finding the strikes to take the barrier. Zoe recovering some of her HP there with the Van Braces, as Expo-chan is just going to continue to be a nuisance in terms of core control of these pillars. The Finny Ultimate will find the first barrier, but now CYBR on the attack. The pillars will actually hold on to the barrier for a little bit, but Zay uses the flip. Josh in the attack, and is going to be able to use the Pendulum Swing to secure this point. And even though CYBR looked like they got a second win coming in that last point, they weren't able to close off the set, and we're going to a set 5.
Yeah, Heavy Metal Gundam did not want to lose after getting that 2-person kill, but able to fully take back the set, and now are looking to pick up some huge awakenings, denying the bulk up for more survivability, but also that's just a big chunk of HP for the Razos. And Centauro is finally getting his dash range that he's been looking for the entire game, opting to go in for explosive entrance over Super Surge. Stacking all the impact awakenings, actually heavy impacts built different and explosive for like it's not like it's like 35% impact damage, pretty huge. But I think the most important to pick up is either going to be the team player from Era, be able to just look like again in the last case, get the core up so quickly, just kind of deny possession from Everyone Gundam, or the extra special Finny. If Finny Strategy can get some strong Finny holds on top of the enemy blocks, things are going to be looking super up for Everyone Gundam.
Yeah, that's going to be so difficult to defend for the side of CYBR, and the recovery drone is already off of Zoe, and the first goal hasn't even happened yet. So basically, just a bare size awakening on Zoe now at this point. So we'll see how it's gonna be playing out. But CYBR definitely fighting for their lives right now, but holding on. Not a barrier lost just yet, right?
Yeah, but the first barrier finally secured, and an unfortunate misclear from Assertive, taking the second barrier, and a huge secondary coming out from Save Forever. And the damage game plan, I mean, again, like, so much has been balanced for Hero Gundam, and X was forced to evade early and just get collapsed on by the Centauro Rasmus combo. Two brawlers means that this offense is actually so much scarier than compared to, like, a usual, like, traditional midfield setup.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're looking into net, Finny, wouldn't say a very weak character when it comes to damage as well, especially considering you do have a Deadeye on that Finny as well. So, uphill battle as Explosion is now being put to almost 1 HP again, needs to use the orb to get some of that HP back, but immediately gets taken out again. As Heavy Metal Gundam will try to get this KO, try to finish off this rune, but not able to find it just yet, as again, it's taken a while for the first barrier to drop, almost a KO off of Zoe there to get Zay, but this places A ever so slightly there to deny that, as Josh tries to find the first barrier touch here, but again, not able to find it, has to flip on the Rasmus, looking to potentially use that as a KO confirm even, as a sort of an Expo are just fighting for their lives right now.
Yeah, sort of kind of forced to run to the enemy side of the field, but it's still just kind of be hunted down by Zay Forever, securing the kill with his ultimate, and Expo is looking like she could be next on the chopping block, and a hook from Josh actually secures it with the bulk up, giving him enough damage to kill outright. And Expo and sort of our left kind of trying to defend while they're down to player, stall for time until Expo can come up right now. But a big flip around from Zoe, securing the first barrier. But again, they're just doing everyone is doing such a great job at setting up these kills. Whenever one person gets KO'd, they look to like get ready for the next person. They can kill them right as the next person comes up. But so they managed to stay alive long enough with the ban braces to not really let that happen yet.
Yeah, the course continuously being forced onto the side of Heavy Metal Gundam now. So they're now in an open goal. A double banish will be found, but the core is not going to find its way past the defense yet. But the attack's not slowing down in any way because the beams are coming out. Zoe is up front with that Kazan. Scary because Kazan has so much playmaking utility. But an even better playmaker is Expo-chan with her pillar there. A great deny of that clear to even it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very surprised that actually, despite all the damage coming out, they're unable to find these kill confirms inside Heavy Metal Gundam. They should have on paper have extremely strong kill confirms, but Josh is being forced to kind of like use this hook to control the pull up, because Rasmus, of course, he's not a traditional midfielder. He's a little bit more unorthodox. He's kind of forced to spend his resources a bit more selfishly than another midfielder. And again, these hooks are coming out before the kills can happen. Means that the kill confirm is going to be a lot harder to find on Josh. But of course, when both... Okay, beautiful pillar from Expo to slot in the bottom side before the Zay or Josh can actually find these kills with how low they are.
Yeah, so much action happening there. A lot of HP bars almost immediately going away, and we're now into the most bare-bone version of Omega Strike, since almost no one has an evade available to them, which means every single ability that's going roughly the direction of someone is likely going to hit as well. So we'll see how that's going to work for CYBR, as they're going to have to be dealing with a lot of damage that's coming out, but that exercise in Kazan making it so difficult to work for the defensive side of Heavy Metal Gundam, it's always just winning Strike Force over and over again with that extra little bit of poke range. As the first barrier does drop, the second one, they're looking to find it. Expo-chan down to being staggered, but again, the great rotation is sort of walking up, helping, using that Era NATO as well to get the KO. 3v2 power play. Can they find the finishing goal here? No, not yet. The defense is holding on from Heavy Metal Gundam, but Expo-chan, no! It's being saved by Zay with the Zentaro ultimate. 3v3 back on the field, but the secondary put it into the hole. That's so unfortunate. Cyber Swipe going into this first series of NASA and making it a statement. They played NASA last season, but this season they're here to take it into NASA League. We do find the victory. Well played.
Yeah, a great last point coming out from Cyber Swipe. I mean, they look so dominant in that last point, and both Zay and Tragic were putting up a great fight while Josh was down, but unfortunately was not able to hold for long enough. And even though there were some very, very, very disturbing damage numbers coming up from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, Cyber Swipe was able to navigate the rate around the damage and secure the game despite being pummeled permanently on Demon Belts.
How is the lowest damage number on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam? 47,000.
Hey, as a reminder that is a nerf for Rasmus. That guy lost so much damage, and all of his abilities got damaged from this patch, and he still manages to find a way to almost 50k damage.
Oh man, yeah, that adds up to like 150 damage total. I don't remember seeing this damage of a game in quite a bit, but. Yeah, I mean, in the end, a lot of damage wasn't enough to find the win for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, but still an incredibly strong showing for them in this first game, and a lot of problems for both of these teams in this season, as they're starting it off strong in performance, not as strong in score for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, but still two very strong-looking teams as of right now.
For sure, and going forward, I'm actually hoping to see a lot more of these like unique picks, like a Rasmus midfield coming out from Josh, and of course, all the debut games earlier from Zoe, a lot of like unique picks that we don't really see in any of the leagues that often. So I'm really looking forward to more of these unique and kind of interesting drafts coming out from more of these teams in the future.